And the scripture says, Jeremiah wrote a letter from Jerusalem to the elders, priests, prophets, and all the people who had been exiled to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. This was after King Jehoiakim, the queen mother, the court officials, the other officials of Judah, and all of the craftsmen and artisans had been deported from Jerusalem. He sent the letter with Elisha, son of Shaphan, and Gemariah, son of Hilkiah, when they went to Babylon as King Zedekiah's ambassadors to Nebuchadnezzar. This is what Jeremiah's letter said. This is what the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says to all the captives he has exiled to Babylon from Jerusalem. Build homes and plan to stay. Plant gardens and eat the fruit they produce. Marry and have children. Then find spouses for them so that you may have grandchildren. Multiply, do not dwindle away, and work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, for its welfare will determine your welfare. Father, we thank you for the sufficiency of your word. That even in times as difficult as this, we do not have to create a response because your word has spoken concerning everything concerning us. And so now, God, as we stand to hear from you, speak again. In Jesus' name, amen. You can have your seat. As I searched this week for words to begin to articulate all that was going on inside of me, I came across these words written in the book of Lamentations that I thought did a good job. I have cried until the tears no longer come. My heart is broken. My spirit is poured out in agony as I see the desperate plight of my people. Little children and tiny babies dying in the streets. Goes on to say, we couldn't go into the streets without danger to our lives. Our end was near, our days were numbered. We were doomed. This is the prophet Jeremiah lamenting the destruction of his people by Babylon. This is the prophet Jeremiah weeping and mourning and holding grief and hope in the same hand at the same time while he works to encourage and strengthen those who are not as strong in their faith as he is. These are his reflections as he thinks about those who were dispossessed. Anybody know what I'm talking about when I say dispossessed? To the children of Israel who were dispossessed and sent away, unlike African Americans in this country or Africans in this country who had been dispossessed yet remain. He is writing about these oppressed people, these people who are disproportionately afflicted by violence and injustice, these people whose lives are seen as disposable and whose blood is seen as common. Somebody else picked up on his pain and his grief in 137 Psalms and said, how shall we sing the song of the Lord when we are in this strange land? And I have to confess that the words of Jeremiah here in the 29th chapter came alive to me in a whole new way over these last couple of days. Jeremiah is writing this letter to what the New International Version, the New International Translation, refers to as the surviving elders. He gives a list of people to whom this is addressed, but one of the categories in that list I want to focus on for a moment, because they are referred to as the remnant or the surviving elders. Not necessarily those who are old, but those rather who have been aged by experience. The surviving elders. The ones who didn't get shot down in the streets. The recorders, not the recorded. The surviving elders. The ones who weren't eaten alive by injustice and who didn't die of grief. The surviving elders. The one who, like meat cooked in the microwave, experienced way too much, way too fast, and were left hard in some places and raw in others. The surviving elders. He says to the surviving elders, I want to encourage you to resist superficial answers.
Come on.
They were in such pain that the surviving elders simply wanted someone to say something or do something that would bring relief. Do you understand that kind of pain where all you can think about is not necessarily what is right, but what will bring relief? And in his letter to these exiles and in his address to these surviving elders, he says, I want to encourage you to resist that which is superficial. For after every wave of destruction, there comes a barrage of superficial answers. A couple of years ago, it was body cameras. We understand what we'll do. Give body cameras to all of the police in the nation. I know you've lost your sons and even your daughters to police brutality, and you have found no justice in the court and no sympathy in the street. So we are going to provide body cameras, as if the camera on the body can work to undo corruption in the heart.
Right.
But Jeremiah says, resist superficial answers. And whether they are body cameras, or whether they are banning Muslims, or whether they are building walls, I want to say to you, surviving elders, we have to, in these times, resist superficial answers. The things that might give us a moment of relief, but really only contribute to the cycle of violence and destruction that we see around us every day. The prophet says to those who are exiled to Babylon, and I believe God is saying to us today, resist superficial answers. Not a very popular message that Jeremiah is proclaiming to the exiles. Not one that would pack out the temple, not one that would draw lots and lots of crowds, but the truth of God never really does. After he encourages them to resist superficial answers, he goes on to tell them that there is no adequate response to this that does not involve the surviving elders beginning to build. Can you frame that in the positive? The only adequate response, the only thing that's going to make any difference whatsoever is when the surviving elders begin to build. Look at what he says. He says, build homes and plan to stay. Plant gardens and eat the fruit they produce. Marry and have children. Then find spouses for them so that you may have grandchildren. Multiply, do not dwindle away. In other words, what he is saying is, rather than focusing on how you can escape this reality, focus on what you can build in the midst of it that would allow a glimpse of the peace peaceable kingdom to be seen. I need to say something that to someone that has been asking themselves, what do I do? What do I do as a black woman that loves black men? What do I do as a wife that is concerned about my husband? What do I do as a mother that is concerned about my son? As a sister that is concerned about my brother? As a human that is concerned about another human being? I want to say to you, surviving elders, to begin to build where you are.
Yes.
I want to say that whatever God has given you to build, build it. If he's giving you a blog, build it. If he's giving you a collective of artists, build it. If he's giving you an idea, build it. If he's giving you a dream, build it. If he's giving you a vision, build it. If he's giving you a small business, build it. If he's giving you a big business, build it. If he's giving you a child to mentor, build it. If he's giving you a marriage, build it. If he's giving you a family, build it. If he's giving you a prayer life, build it. If he's giving you a revelation, build it. If he's giving you a block association, build it. The only hope for the surviving elders is that we will begin to build where we are. When we lose our focus on building and start being primarily concerned with maintaining, things fall apart. For years, I counseled young men who had gotten into parole or on probation. And I would say, if you didn't do anything when the police came, why did you run? Dumb question. Now I understand how dumb of a question it was. But it really reflected, Minister Patrick, is that I allowed my education and I allowed my affluence and I allowed the fact that I have a car and I own a house and I have access to certain places and certain people and certain things to disconnect me from the reality in the community. It keyed me in to the fact that I was focusing more on maintaining what I have rather than building what my community needs. And let me tell you, this serves as a wake-up call to those of us that have been hiding behind our degrees and hiding in our careers and hiding in our homes and hiding in the suburbs, that it is time for us not only to be concerned about preserving what we have built, but building for those that are to come. Building for those who are so busy trying to survive the day that they cannot think about building for themselves. Any solution, any suggestion, any approach that will bring hope for our community starts with the surviving elders not being so preoccupied with escaping that they fail to build. Because that is the issue that the prophet Jeremiah is talking about. He is talking to people who are primarily concerned with God getting them out. God, come get us out of Babylon. We don't want to be around these people. We don't want to experience these realities. We have paid our dues. We have suffered enough. And in this time, false prophets come that say, yes, getting out is the way. I need somebody to hear me in here today. In this time, false prophets come to say, yes, get as far away from that mess as possible. Yes, if you can't hide in the suburbs, maybe you can go to the country. If you can't hide in the country, maybe you come on somebody. And there are those who are saying the thing to do is be concerned about preserving you and yours and do that by getting as far away as possible. And the prophet Jeremiah says, y'all don't need to be focused about going anywhere. You need to settle in and plan to build where you are. What has God given you to build?
All right.
What excuses have we come up with about why we can't build it now? I believe, Minister Tina, that in this time we are asking God what he is going to do, but God is looking at us and saying, what are you going to do? Jeremiah says to the exiles in Babylon, the surviving elders, build. The next thing that he tells them, perhaps as disturbing as the first two is seek the peace of the city. We have taken that phrase and we have used it to talk about the importance of urban ministry, to talk about the importance of a missiological approach to the world. When we say seek the peace of the city, we start thinking about social action. We start thinking about breakfast after the bell, and we start thinking about anti-poverty programs and welfare reform and affordable housing. We start thinking about all those kinds of things, but that's not really what he was talking about. Jeremiah is talking to people who have been exiled and are now forced to live in the presence of their oppressors. He's not talking about those who have been ghettoized. He's not talking about those who have been pushed to one undesirable side of town and deprived of basic benefits, including police service in those sides of town. He's talking to those who have been exiled and are now trying to figure out, how do I live in the midst of these who oppress me? How do I live when I might see the man who killed my uncle tomorrow? How do I live when I know I am in danger at every moment? How do I live not separate from the oppressor, but how do I live in the midst of the oppressor? And Jeremiah says, seek the peace of the city. In his statement, what he is doing is he is defying isolationist approaches. That the thing we need to do that will make everybody and everything better is we stay to ourselves and them stay to themselves. Now, if you ask me, do you think like that? I would say no. But I will tell you that I had to have a meeting with a white man on Friday. And as he called me on the phone, he was just as chipper. And I was just as done with him. Can I be honest in the house of God? Amen. Hello, Pastor, how are you? I'm not well. You know, I know how to straight face my voice. Well, if this is not a good time, we can schedule this again. Understand that I know me. And not now would have been not ever, because I don't really want to. So with tight face and minimal words, I sat through the 40-minute meeting, praying the whole time, God, help me not to hate this man. I never even met him face to face. He had never done a thing to me. He was calling me because he was trying to help us with something. And every time he asked me a question, I had to breathe in grace in order to be able to exhale a gracious answer. Because in these times, what we want to do is get with those like us and plot against those that we see as our enemies. Am I talking to anybody else? Right. But Jeremiah gives this instruction that I think is important for us. And what he says is to defy isolationist approaches. In other words, he says, in their peace is your peace. There's not going to be peace for you and destruction for them. There's not going to be mercy for you and justice for them. If you want justice, and if you want justice, work for justice for everybody. If you want mercy,